The dolls. The dolls had been a kindness, or at least that was what Abigail told herself when she placed them in Letty's room. A small attempt at comfort, something to keep her occupied, to remind her of childhood, of a time before everything had gone so wrong. There were two of them, both made of cloth and stuffed with rags, with little stitched mouths and black button eyes. One had belonged to Mary before she outgrew it, the other sewn by Abigail's own hands during a long winter years before. She had set them at the foot of Letty's bed, smoothing the warm fabric, whispering, "You're not alone in here, baby." But she was wrong. Letty was alone, and the dolls only made it worse. She ignored them at first. They sat there, untouched, silent companions in the dimness of the room. But then, as the days dragged into weeks, she started to feel them, watching, waiting. It was in the way they sat so still, their little black eyes fixed in place, unblinking. No matter where she moved in the room, no matter how she turned away, she could feel them staring. She tried to tell herself it was nothing. They were just dolls, just cloth and buttons and thread. But something was wrong with them. At night, when the house was quiet, she would lie in bed, facing the wall, and she could hear them. Tiny little noises, a shift of fabric, a faint rustling, as if something was moving when it shouldn't be. One time, she swore she saw one of them change positions. It had been sitting upright when she went to sleep, but in the morning, it was tilted forward, its head turned just slightly, just enough to face her directly. That was when she stopped sleeping altogether. That was when she stopped turning her back to them at all. She tried to push them away, tried to shove them under the bed, to tuck them into the darkest corner of the room. But no matter where she put them, she could still feel them. Those eyes, they saw everything. They saw her when she whispered to herself, when she paced in endless circles, when she pressed her forehead under the cold window and prayed for something, anything, to take her away from this place. They saw inside her, into the dark parts, even the parts she didn't understand herself, and she hated them for it. The first doll lost its eyes in a frenzy. She had woken in the night, heart pounding, skin cold with sweat. The room was silent, but she knew they had moved again. They were closer, closer than before. She scrambled from the bed, grabbing the nearest one with shaking hands. It felt heavier now, almost wrong in her grip, like something alive. She had to stop it. She had to make it stop watching her. Her fingers found the black buttons, and she ripped. The first one came off clean, rolling onto the floor like a beetle. The second one took more effort, the stitches holding tight, almost as if it were fighting her. But she tore it free. The doll sagged in her hands, empty socket staring up at her, and a sick relief washed over her. It couldn't see her anymore. It was safe now. The second doll took longer. She hesitated with that one. It was the one Abigail had made, the one stitched with careful hands, the one that still smelled faintly of home, of firewood and lavender. But soon, even that didn't matter. because those eyes still watched, and so she took them too. Abigail found the dolls days later. The food she had left outside the door was untouched again, and her stomach churned as she unlatched the door, stepping into the stale, suffocating air of the room. And that was when she saw them. The first was sitting on the bed, eyeless, slumped forward, its arms limp at its sides. The second was in the corner, crumbled on the floor, buttons ripped away, thread hanging loose where the stitches had been torn apart. Abigail's breath caught in her throat. She turned slowly, eyes sweeping the dim room, searching for Letty. And there she was, sitting in the darkest corner, knees drawn to her chest, her hands clasped around something. Something small, something round. Abigail took a step closer. Letty? No response. Just a slow, rhythmic motion. Letty rolling something between her fingers, over and over again. A glint of black. A button. Abigail's stomach twisted. Her voice barely came out. Letty, what are you doing? Letty didn't look up, didn't blink. She only smiled. And in the softest whisper she said, "Now they can't see me anymore."